Guys, I'm so excited tonight because I have been a fan of horror movies my whole life. And tonight, Killer Cuisine actually has its first bona fide killer, Mr. David Howard Thornton, also known as Art the Clown. David, thank you so much for joining us tonight and taking some time with us.
Oh man, thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
So, David, I want to start off with a really simple question, an easy one. How does one go from being born and raised in Huntsville, Alabama, to being a horror icon? You made it seem really easy.
Yeah, it's like basically 30 plus years of overnight success,
Exactly. Just in the blink of an eye. So how did you get started? I know you started community theater, did some professional theater, had a great run as Grandpa in Dr. Seuss, the musical.
Yes.
Yes. But you kind of put yourself up for the role, or had your representatives put you in for the role of Art the Clown. Is that correct?
I did. I came across the audition on a website, and they were looking for a tall, skinny guy that had a clowning or physical comedy experience to play Art. And I'm like, oh, that's perfect for me. So I'm like, because I had never really done like film before. I was like, this would be a great way just to get my foot in the door in the film industry. This would be a great credit, because I didn't know what this was going to become. I was just like, it'd be great for a resume.
Right, great for a resume. And now, I mean, there's Art the Clown action figures coming out this year. People have Art the Clown tattoos on them. You're ingrained. You will be part of the horror con community forever at this point. What is that like to know that you've gone down and become such an icon that you're being mentioned around the names like Kane Hodder and Robert Englund, and it's got to be absolutely amazing.
It's bizarre, man. It's like my first time going to one of these conventions, and I think both Damien and I had like imposter syndrome, where we're just like, oh God, we don't belong here. It was that whole fear that all those great legends, because we're at the convention with like Robert Englund and Kane Hodder and all those guys, and we're like, oh my God, they're going to be looking down at us. Like, who do these guys think they are? It was the total opposite. They're like, hey, welcome to the community. I'm like, it was so surreal. It's still surreal to me. I'm like, it's been over 2 years and I'm still trying to wrap my head around it all.
Before this, had you ever been to one of the horror cons before?
I hadn't been to a horror con, but I had gone to plenty of like Comic-Con type things. I had even cosplay as the Joker at a few of them.
And not just cosplay at the Joker, but you've done Nightwing Escalation, where your performance of this Joker was phenomenal.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, I think you've got a knack for really creepy, kind of psychotic clowns at this point. I don't want to pigeonhole you because I know you're talented way beyond that, but you are really good with the psychotic clowns.
Thanks. Yes. Hey, I mean, they're fun, so I can't complain about that. It's like if I get pigeonholed and typecast into those type of roles, I'm like, fine. They're fun.
You originally, kind of when you got started, you were more interested in the comedy type roles and that kind of thing, and voiceover. You're a phenomenal voiceover actor.
Thank you.
And your biggest break, no lines.
No lines in a horror film.
So after the audition, and I'd love to hear about the audition because I've heard a little bit about what happened there and how you kind of landed the role. But what did you think when the rest of the cast is getting a script to memorize? You've got nothing.
It scared me because I went to the audition and I'm so used to getting a script when I go into auditions. I figured they would just have a script there for me to peruse before I, did my auditions. It would be like a cold reading. And I go in there and all these other people have scripts, and I asked them if I could have a script, and they're like, oh, you should have gotten one. I'm like, oh no. But luckily, like when they called me in the room, I was like, apologizing. I'm like, I am so sorry. And they're like, oh, you don't need one. Art doesn't talk.
It's absolutely a credit to your skills as an actor and a performer. The fact that you don't speak a line through the whole thing and you convey so much through the character, the shifting of the eyes, the body language. It's absolutely one of the creepiest performances in a horror movie I've ever seen, and I've seen most of them. I love horror. But I don't know that there's a creepier clown than you. You've been ranked higher than Pennywise at this point, right? It's really is due to an absolutely phenomenal performance, strictly through your body language and the eyes and your sense of humor. So how much of yourself did you bring? Because it's a little surreal for me right now.
Mm-hmm.
You're a sweet guy with a nice smile. You seem, you seem, and then to see you on the screen as art and see how big a difference that is. How much of yourself is in Art the Clown?
I would say the humorous side of art is me. The killer side, the one likes to just do horrible things to people. That's definitely not me. That's just that's actually sometimes on set they would have to tell me, like, David, you can be rougher with people. I want you to just get in there, just. I'm like, but I don't want to hurt them.
As I'm sawing her in half, I want to do it humanely.
Oh yeah, it's probably one of the most surreal things for my co-stars. Like, we'll do a scene and they say cut, and I've been doing horrible things to them, and as soon as they say cut, I'm like, are you okay? Are you okay? And I'm covered in blood and looking like I do, and I'm just like, are you okay? I didn't hurt you or anything.
Obviously, the success of Terrifier has been bigger than you probably could have ever imagined.
Oh, definitely.
And has opened, I'm hoping, a ton of doors for you. But now Terrifier 2 is wrapped. I know it's in post-production at this point.
Correct.
Do we have any timeline at this point? I know a lot of it that has been delayed because of the pandemic, unfortunately.
Right. Yeah, it's I'm thinking probably going to be like mid, maybe fall. It just We wanted to do it early this year, but I'm like, I think it's just Damien's. Not only is he editing right now, he's also working on another film I'm filming right now. He's doing all the practical effects for it. So it's funny seeing him on set for this thing. It's like when he's not doing the practical effects, he has his computer there on set in this hotel, and he's sitting there editing all day.
Wow. It's burning the candle at both ends, as they say.
Yeah, I don't know how he does it. I really don't. It's like I think he's insane in some ways. He was like that on set too. It's like, because he directed everything, but he also did all the practical effects on set too. So I'm like, I know I wasn't getting a lot of sleep at times, but I know that he was definitely not getting a lot of sleep because, we would leave set and he would have to go back and start making the practical effects for the next day and prepping everything. So I was like, oh, jeez.
It is kind of interesting as just an audience watching the films. I'm a true geek. I stick around for all the credits. Mm-hmm. And to watch the credits go by and it's Damien. I mean, he pretty much has his hand in every aspect of the production.
He does. He's like such a renaissance man in that way when it comes to filmmaking. He can do it all, it seems like. I know he doesn't want to do it all, but it definitely saves on money.
Right.
When you're a low budget film. But in part two, we had some other people we had originally hired to help him out, especially with the practical effects, and that all fell through at the last second. So he ended up having to take all that on himself again. He was just like, well, I got to do it. So,
wow. So for Terrifier 2, you also had a much larger budget than the first film.
Yes.
And so from what I've read online, and I follow you online as well, I'm imagining we can expect some much greater kills this time. And Art's going to go a little more intense this time. Is that correct?
Oh, man. It's like, if you guys thought the hacksaw scene was something, oh, boy. If you couldn't handle that scene, you're definitely not going to be able to handle at least 3 of the kills in this movie. It's crazy.
I can't even imagine because hardcore horror fan here. And the hacksaw scene is up there among the toughest things I've ever watched on screen before. I mean, it's absolutely brutal.
Oh, that's the thing. It's like the latest scene, our big kill scene that we filmed recently right before Christmas. Damien was in the middle of editing it one day, and he just texted me. He's like, David, I'm getting lightheaded. I'm like, dang, man, you of all people. It's like he's been watching horror films since he was like 3 or 4 years old. So this is his thing. This is his jam. So if it's getting to him, that's telling you something. That one scene right there is like, there's some parts in it where I'm just like, even though I was in the middle of filming it, I was even like, as soon as they cut, I was just like, ah.
In Terrifier 2, I know it takes place 1 year after the ending of the first movie,
Correct.
right when Vicky's getting out of the hospital. So is Vicky involved in Terrifier 2 at all?
I wouldn't say that she's getting out of the hospital, but I can't really say more. But yeah, she's definitely in it at one point.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
I won't
I
press for
don't
more
want to
details.
spoil anything, but
Oh,
yeah.
trust me, I don't want to be spoiled. I've been looking forward to this. My wife and I actually, we were such a fan of the first Terrifier. We did some of the crowdfunding for Terrifier 2, and we've been keeping track of it for months now in anticipation. So I don't want anything spoiled. I want to have that gut reaction to seeing it the first time.
I will say that what we do with her is pretty cool.
Okay.
Yeah. She's not the main character, of course. The main character in this one is the character Sienna, played by the wonderfully talented Lauren Lavera. So
there was one iteration of Art the Clown before you took over in All Hallows Eve. Correct. But even in that one, we kind of dive into Art the Clown full on. Has there been any discussion of a possible origin story movie for Art?
Yes, I mean, I don't know necessarily about an origin story movie, but I think in part 3 at least we want to flesh out a little bit more of his origin.
Okay, so part 3 is going to happen?
That's what we want to do. I mean, that's what Damien's intention has been from the start, to make it at least a trilogy.
Fantastic. Trust me, I think, like I said, my wife and I, we do go to the cons. We've been going to the cons for years, and the kind of word of mouth that Terrifier picked up and the head of steam that it got, it's already huge amongst the horror fan community. I can't imagine what this is going to be like after the second one is released.
Oh, I hope it really puts Damien on the map. That's what I'm really hoping. I hope he's going to be like the guy people in Hollywood are calling up to do movies, because he definitely deserves it. I mean, it's like he's so talented, and we need that kind of talent in this industry right now.
I agree, and as a horror fan, he's taking it back to the old school kind of horror that I grew up with and love, and that Hollywood seemed to have drifted away from. He's not afraid to be brutal. He's not afraid to be in your face, and he's not afraid to be just absolutely over the top in all the best ways that a horror movie can be. So I would love to see him get a chance with a huge budget and just be able to pull out all the stops and see what he's really capable of, because what he's accomplished up to this point is absolutely amazing. And he's got such a huge fan base going for him already.
I mean, we don't even have $1 million budget for this film. And I look at what we've all been able to pull off in this film alone. It's like just what he's done with the prosthetics are just like, he's upped his game from the first film. It's just like, they're photorealistic. It's just amazing. But not just that, just like the whole entire crew. We have a small crew, but they've pulled off miracles with this film. It's mind-boggling.
Like, though, is part of that because the films that I have seen of Damien's, there's kind of a consistency with the actors that he uses and actresses that he uses. And even we've noticed in the credits, the crew and everything, he tries to remain with the crew. Is it not just because of budget, because it feels like family, and I'm sure people are more invested as an actor and an actress and crew members in something that you feel like you're building as a team. And I think that's definitely part of what has made this so incredible for you guys.
I think so too, because he trusts these people. They take a lot of the burden off of him, because he knows that they are capable of doing these certain tasks that need to be done. For like one example of this, there was a one big huge, used in several scenes, but it's a set piece that's it's the bedroom of our female hero or heroine in this, and the day before filming, I get there on set and there's nothing in there. They were still just starting to paint the walls. It didn't look like a bedroom. And I'm just like freaking in. I'm like, oh my God, how's this going to be ready to film tomorrow morning? and our just two of our wonderfully talented women on the crew went in and spent a whole entire night dressing that whole entire set, and it looked it was like night and day. I go in there the next day, and I flipped my lid. I was like, you did all of this in less than a day. And it's like it looked like a real bedroom, but like not just like a typical bedroom. Like the this character is kind of cosplayer, so she has her whole cosplay station up. So they're just like so many small details that probably don't even get picked up on camera that they put into this room. It's like, I want this room. This should be my room.
The passion of everybody involved shines through, and I think it's going to pay off for you guys in a big, big way. We're very excited for it. But you did mention there have been some delays due to the pandemic, and that has affected so much of everybody's life. I know you were doing the HorrorCon circuit
Right.
for quite a while, and that came to a complete stop. Have you looked into any of the virtual cons or anything like that? I know people are struggling so bad to try to get cons up in any way, shape, or form now, and it's tough.
It is. I did like maybe like one or two virtual cons last year, but it's nowhere near the same.
Yeah.
It's just it's you don't get the same turnout, of course.
Right.
It's not the same. You don't have that one-on-one interaction like you want to have. Yeah, but I think that's all going to be changing a lot this year, especially with the vaccine rollout. Once that
Right.
really starts, once the general public fully has access to the vaccines, I think we're going to see a big change. So I'm anticipating by this fall that we're going to start getting back to normal with the convention circuit. I that's my hope, knock on wood, because I have a lot scheduled for the fall.
Right. Of the cons that you have participated in, what is your favorite? Mine has always been, of course, I lived in Austin, Texas, so it was one of the easier ones for me to get to, but the Frightmare weekend in Dallas, Texas is huge. Is there a favorite of yours?
I haven't been to Frightmare yet. I was actually supposed to do it last year, but I'm supposed to do it this year too. So I hear that one's fantastic. I hear that's huge, but I'm like, sometimes I don't really have a favorite, and I don't want to name names anyways in that regard, because you just like, they're all great in their own ways. It's like I've been to some very small conventions, but I've had a blast at those too, where they're more intimate, so I could really spend time interacting with the fans and hanging out with them and stuff like that. And I mean, yeah, I might not have made nearly as much money at those, but I had fun in my own way. Like one of them was up in Buffalo, and we did the convention in the train station up there that's haunted. And we did this whole ghost hunt at the end of one of the nights with Jack Kenna. And that was so much fun because we got so much stuff happened on that hunt. It was just like, we saw stuff, felt stuff, heard stuff. It was crazy. It was like, it's just a small group of people, about 20 of us that went on this hunt. And that was a great experience in itself.
That's something I've noticed online. That's something that you're pretty interested in, is the paranormal aspect and the ghost hunting things and that kind of stuff. Is that right?
Oh, I love that stuff. It's fascinating. I've lived in so many like haunted areas, and haunted buildings. Like I was a skeptic until I went to college in Montevallo, Alabama, and Montevallo is supposed to be the most haunted area of Alabama. And I think that's how it is with every freshman coming in. They're kind of like, this is bull crap. And by the end of the first semester, you're kind of like, okay, yep, I believe. So it's a common thing just to be in the cafeteria and eating lunch with your friends. Like, guess what happened to me last night? And no one thinks you're nuts.
Right. So it's funny. I've gotten through my sites, I've gotten to do a little bit of work with a group called Southern Ghost Girls.
Fun.
And they investigate all over Alabama. Matter of fact, your home city, I don't know if you're familiar with the Dead Children's Playground.
Oh, of course. Yes. That place is creepy.
Very creepy. Very, very creepy, and always full of activity. So if you're ever back home visiting and you'd like to get in touch with them, and they do phenomenal tours.
Oh, I've seen Dead Children's. I've seen swings swinging by themselves when there's no wind on Dead Children's Playground. And like the playground, like the merry-go-round turning around and stuff. It's just like there's no wind because it's kind of down this little gully. So it's like,
And at the back of a cemetery,
yeah.
what a great place to put a playground to begin
Oh
with.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, like it's kind of funny because like my mom's grave is like about 100 or so feet away from where that playground is. So it's just like, oh yeah.
wow, wow. So you mentioned that the bedroom of the star of Terrifier 2, she's into cosplay.
Yes.
And you mentioned I'm a pop culture geek. I don't care if it's a horror con, a comic con. I go to all of them. And I know that there's going to be a 3 issue release of
Yes.
Terrifier. Is this something that Damien's into as well? Is that kind of his influence on that?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Damien's a huge geek like me.
Nice.
Oh yeah, this
Nice.
is how we bonded on set in the makeup chair. That's what we'll do the whole entire time, is just talk about movies and TV shows and video games, comic books, all that kind of stuff.
So during the lockdown, I know, living in New York especially, you have been a major proponent of don't leave the house unless you have to.
Right.
How have you been filling your time during the lockdown?
A lot of video games and a lot of Netflix.
There you go. Is there a favorite video game that's come out lately that you've really been spending some time on?
Oh God, I think I put about 150 hours into the latest Assassin's Creed game, Valhalla.
Oh yes. The artwork
Yeah.
in those games is beyond compare. They're just absolutely gorgeous.
I had so much fun with that game. I did everything. I did every little thing on that map. I'm a completionist when I play games, so I have to do everything.
All the side missions, all the Easter eggs,
all the collectibles, everything.
I'm telling you, I think the gaming industry has definitely been one of the few industries that has benefited from the lockdown, because I didn't have a whole lot of time before, but now, I mean, what else are you going to do?
Yeah, exactly. It's given me at least time to catch up on stuff that I had not played in a while. So I'm like, that's cool. Okay, I'll just do this. But at the same time, I do miss going out and doing conventions and everything like that. So it's just like,
well, and let me tell you, I know your fans are ready to get back to the convention, and I want to talk to you about your fans for just a second, because I know you are very interactive with your fans. For example, you were very gracious in order to do this interview with me tonight. But the fans for art are absolutely incredible. There's a whole page on Facebook, Art the Clown Appreciation page, where people are creating wonderful things.
Yes.
Artwork. I'm going to be showing some pictures of paintings that are being done. I know there's fans that are creating, as a matter of fact, Trick or Treat Studios is coming out with a 12-inch action figure this year.
Yay.
Art the Clown. What's it like knowing, since you are a self-professed geek, what's it like to know that you're going to be an action figure?
That's a dream come true. That was literally like one of my life goals. Was one day when I got into acting, I was like, one day I want to have an action figure of some character I've played. That's always been a goal of mine. And it's like, what, life goal achieved. It's just like, this is so cool. So cool.
And I'll show the pictures of the prototype. It's absolutely awesome. They did a great job, and they're selling the reproduction of Art's teeth.
Yeah.
Trick or Treat Studios, which sounds funny, but I can't wait to get a set. I mean,
oh yeah, they will make you drool like crazy if they're anything like the ones I was wearing. So
wow. So what is it that you're hoping for in the future? I know this has kind of turned into what most people would consider the role of a lifetime, and one that, like Robert Englund and Kane Hodder, has opened up so much opportunities for them to do other things. Is there a project that would be a dream project for you outside of Art the Clown?
Oh, of course. I mean, like that. My biggest dream role is to play the Joker. I mean, that's it. I really would love to play him. I mean, a movie would be great, but I would really like to play him on a television series. That way, I would have more time to spend with the character than just a 2-hour movie.
And I know so many of the services are going to streaming live action and creating series. I can tell you, I would sign the petition in a heartbeat to have you, because just on the Nightwing escalation, like I said, the performance is so dead on and so classic Joker-esque that it was a pleasure to watch on screen. I would love, I'd tell you, I would pay money right now just to see you and Mark Hamill TikTok together, a duet where you're going back and forth with a Joker battle.
Oh,
It would be
God, I would just, oh my God, I would be like, that's the master right there. I'm like, you can't beat his interpretation of the characters. That's like Mel Blanc doing, Bugs Bunny. It's like, you can't surpass what he did.
He is phenomenal, but I'm telling you, your performance, don't sell yourself short, because it is absolutely, like I said, I think you have a knack for a psychotic clown. I don't know what that says about you as a person. It's, write it for all it's worth, though, because it's serving you well so far.
I will take it, because he oddly enough, about 2 years ago, when I was still on Twitter, someone mentioned the Nightwing Escalation series and mentioned, like, Mark Hamill, you should see this version of the Joker. And I commented, like, yeah, if Mark Hamill ever saw my version of the Joker, I would plots. And a few minutes later, I get this message that says, "Plots away, David. Great job." And he had a little Joker card next to it. And I was like, I'm good for the rest of my life now. It's like, if I get his thumbs up, I'm good.
So
like,
you've got the screenshot framed somewhere in your house, right?
I wish I still had it, though, but no, it might be in like my Facebook stories somewhere and all that stuff. But I was just like, are you kidding me? I was like, that was.
Wow. No, I can't blame you there. And I think it's a testament to him, though, as being one of the coolest men on the planet. He's so good at reaching out to fans and making sure he stays engaged with fans.
He really is.
So many actors or actresses at some point get so big that they kind of take fans for granted, and he has never done that at any point throughout his career. It's
never.
incredible.
He's going back to just the early days of Star Wars. I think he's just always been so appreciative of the fans.
And you're following in those footsteps. Like I said, I see that you interact with the Art the Clown appreciation page, and you are very generous with your time with fans there and here. And let me just tell you, as a fan, it means a lot to us. It really does, because we're so emotionally invested in the character and in the franchise that it helps when it feels like our love is appreciated. And as a comic book geek yourself, I'm glad that you recognize that and appreciate that.
Oh, that's the thing. I'm a fanboy myself, so I know, like I said, when I got that that love from Mark Hamill, that was like, oh my God. So I know what that feels like, just to even get a little bit of a recognition. It's a great feeling to have that I guess validation in a way that, oh, like, wow, you actually do appreciate your fans. You acknowledge us. It's a great feeling. And it's like, and I think every actor should be like that, because we wouldn't have careers if it weren't for the fans. And like, Terrifier 2 wouldn't have happened if we're not for the fans, both monetarily and just realistically. I mean, most of the film is funded by fans.
Well, and let me tell you, if it's up to the fans, you don't have to worry. There'll be a Terrifier 2, 3, 4. I think we'll continue to watch as long as you're willing to continue to put on the black and white makeup, because it is just an absolute pleasure to watch. It brings so much to the character that it's absolutely, we will continue to watch for as long as you're willing to put on the makeup and be a psychotic. We're here to bring it on.
He's just a fun character. I love playing him. He's kind of like that, like an evil version of Bugs Bunny in a lot of ways.
Especially one of my wife and I's favorite scenes in the original Terrifier is you're chasing down Vicky at the end, and she runs into the garage, and you're trying to reach through and grab her through the space in the doors, and then all of a sudden comes the little horn and just honk honk, and it's just absolutely priceless. It's fantastic. Says so much about the character itself. It's a lot of fun to watch. So you mentioned there's another film. What are some upcoming projects aside from Art the Clown that we might be able to watch you in coming up soon?
Yeah. The first one I would say is something I filmed a little bit during the pandemic. It's called Dark Offerings, and it's a horror film where a lot of different horror actors and actually some people from Terrifier, the Fuzz and the Lens guys, are in it and stuff like that. But It's a whole entire horror film that was made exclusively over Zoom.
Really?
Yeah, it's like the intricacies that went into this thing are astounding because we all had to act off of each other over Zoom like this, and over quarantine because quarantine and all that, because
Yeah.
this was all being filmed during like the beginning phases of the whole pandemic, so it was pretty rough, but
I
they
think
did
it's
it.
I think it's amazing too, because it just goes to show the fact, and when I say art refuses to die, I'm not talking about Art the Clown, although that's accurate as well. But art refuses to die, and it finds ways to adapt. And I think the one thing about the pandemic is there are so many people that have found talent that they didn't know they had
Mhm.
because of stuff like this, and they're exploring different hobbies and stuff that I think we're about to go through another renaissance in art, film, music, every aspect of art itself, and see
Oh
a
yeah.
whole new blossoming of new talents and new forms of art.
Oh, I completely agree. It's caused people to become more creative. It's like, okay, we can't be on a big, huge, set right now because of all this. So how are we gonna still make our art? And this is how they do it. And I mean, you see that especially a lot of TikTok pages. I mean, I'm not on TikTok, but I've seen so many TikTok videos where there's been some really creative things that people have come up with.
I love there's entire albums being recorded on TikTok right now
Yeah.
with 5 and 6 people that have never met each other, never sat in the same room together, and they're putting out entire albums that are absolutely incredible. And even you and I talking today, this was completely born out of necessity. I was in the restaurant industry. I had a restaurant in Alabaster, Alabama,
Oh yeah.
but the pandemic was not kind to small businesses. So
No.
I had to find something else to do. But I love food and I loved interacting with customers. And I thought, what's a way I can still do something with food and still interact with people? And I started this, and now here I am 7 months later talking to one of my favorite actors from one of my favorite movies. So it just goes to show you that there's always a pathway if you're willing to look for one.
I got to ask, what type of restaurant was it?
It's cheeseburger.
Oh,
Yeah,
fantastic.
we were actually ranked one of the top cheeseburger restaurants in Alabama from 4 different internet sites. And
Oh,
my partner is still in business, Chub
hmm.
Fathers, Alabaster, Alabama. Y'all go eat.
Man, now you got me hungry because I like cheeseburgers are like my one of my weaknesses. I'm like Wimpy from like Popeye. I'm just like, oh my God. I nothing like a good burger, man.
Oh, I'm telling you.
Oh yeah, I
Well,
forgot to answer the rest of that question though.
okay.
Oh yeah, the other thing I'm working on is this movie called Stream, and it's with a lot of the Terrifier team as well, the Fuzz and Lens guys, that they released a movie a few years ago called Abnormal Attractions. But
Okay.
this is they wanted to make a full-on horror film as well, and they're hoping this is going to become a trilogy as well, like, or a franchise at least. And it's a really, I wish I could say what the movie is about, but I get to play one of the killers in it, which is a lot of fun. And we have a lot of horror legends in it. They've announced some of them. You can find some of them on like IMDb, so it's not spoiling anything. Like Jeffrey Combs is in it, which
Okay.
was I got to be on set with him recently, and I wasn't in a scene with him, but I got to watch him work, and that was just like a master class in itself. I was thrilled. I'm like, oh my God, I get to watch Jeffrey Combs just be Jeffrey Combs right now, and he's amazing in this thing. I was like, this is, because that's how I learn. I love to watch people that are better than me, so I can just learn from them. And I'm like, it was a treat.
Well, and I believe you've acknowledged before that you didn't take a whole lot of college classes or anything like that for acting.
Right.
You learned from television and from movies and from watching other actors on stage and
Hmm.
kind of perfected your craft through that. So to be with somebody of that caliber, I can imagine was
Oh, it's a master
awe-inspiring.
class. It's just that's how, yeah, exactly. That's how I've always learned. I didn't get my degree in theater. I got my degree in elementary education of all things.
I respect teachers a ton. I've always respected teachers a ton. I think they're severely underpaid, but
Yes.
selfishly, I'm glad you're not in a classroom right now teaching and that you're creating such wonderful things. And I'm so excited to hear that there's going to be more horror in your future, because I am a fan of horror and just have been craving to see you in different roles and in more of Art the Clown, because you're just a pleasure to watch on screen. And I can't wait to see what the future holds for you and what the future brings.
I can't wait either, because I'm like, I like playing character roles. I like to play different type of characters and just really going crazy with stuff. So I'm excited to see what doors, especially Terrifier 2, might open up for me. Who knows? It's just, if I can have the type of career Doug Jones has had, I will be the happiest person alive.
Those are high marks. Doug Jones is a pretty phenomenal character actor in any regard. But no, I definitely see Art the Clown and yourself being a horror icon for years and years to come, and can't wait to see what happens. So yes, definitely, fingers crossed. So to bring it back around to food, because it's killer cuisine. If you were able to have dinner with any actor, past or present, any place in the world, who would you have dinner with? What would you eat, and where would you be?
Oh, wow. I think Robin Williams would be just a great person just to sit down and have dinner with, because he just seemed like a man that, he had gone through a lot. He dealt with depression, and he found ways to deal with it by making people laugh. That's his whole thing was about bringing joy to others. That's how he dealt with his own depression, it seemed like. And I think he would just be a fascinating person to have been able to sit down and talk with and actually have a real conversation with. And then also just laugh your butt off the whole entire time too. So I would have to be choosy about what I ate, though, because I'll probably be spitting it out the whole entire time laughing. But
definitely don't want to eat soup with Robin Williams.
Oh God, no. I imagine like seafood would be fun to eat with him, because he would just probably do something funny with it too. But yeah, because I like shrimp a lot, so that would be fun. Like surf and turf. There we go, surf and turf. That would be great to do. So, yeah.
Surf and turf with Robin Williams. I'll be honest, I would sit down and eat dirt with Robin Williams.
Me too.
I don't know if there's ever been anybody that brought so much light into the world that was dealing with so much personal darkness. His legacy will be long-lived and forever loved for the character he was. He was a living Patch Adams. I mean, he really was.
I think, surf and turf on Pier 39 in San Francisco. That would be great.
Fantastic. Well, David, I can't thank you enough for taking some time and spending it with us tonight, answering a couple of our questions. I really appreciate your time, and we can't wait to see what you bring us in the future.
Oh, dude, I can't wait for you all to see this. It's exciting. It's killing me having to keep so much under wraps right now, because there's so much I want to talk about.
Well, look, I'm here anytime. Any projects that come out, you want to talk about them and get them some attention, I'd love to talk to you again in the future. And just thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having me as well.
So I hope you really enjoyed the interview as much as I did with David Howard Thornton. Look, I'm still looking to talk to fun, fascinating people in 2021. If you know somebody that I should be talking to, drop me a line and let me know so we can have a drink, have a meal, get to know each other a little bit. Y'all get out there and spread the love.